You call your dog's name, and suddenly there is a blur of paws, tail, and excitement racing across the room. You call your cat's name, and one ear twitches. Maybe, if the cat is feeling generous. Then there is the parrot, who not only knows its own name, but sometimes shouts your name back with the confidence of someone who owns the house. So what is happening? Do animals actually know their names? Or have they simply learned that one particular sound means food, attention, a walk, or trouble? The answer is more complicated than it seems, because a name is not just a sound. A name points to an individual. It says, "I mean you." And across the animal kingdom, some species appear to come surprisingly close to that idea. Start with dogs, the easiest case to recognize. Most dogs learn their names because humans use them constantly. Bella, come here. Max, sit. Charlie, leave it. Very quickly, the name becomes a signal for attention. A dog does not need to understand language like a human child to learn that this sound matters. It predicts that something is about to happen, but that is the first trap. A dog responding to its name does not prove the dog understands the name as a personal identity label. It may simply mean, when I hear that sound, I should look at my human. From the dog's point of view, whether the name means me or pay attention may not matter much. Either way, it works. Then scientists asked a harder question. Can dogs connect words to specific things? Not just commands like sit or stay, but object names like ball, rope, or frisbee. Some dogs can. A few rare, gifted word learner dogs have shown the ability to remember the names of many toys, and some can retain those names for years, long after the toys have been put away. In 2024, researchers using non-invasive brain recordings found evidence that dogs may form mental representations of familiar objects when they hear those objects named. For some dogs, a word is not merely a noise that triggers a behavior. It may bring a thing to mind. That does not mean every dog secretly understands full sentences. It means the boundary between trained reaction and meaning is not as clean as we sometimes imagine. A dog's name may begin as a cue, but in a social relationship, cues can gather routine, emotion, and history. Now move from dogs to cats, where the experiment becomes more emotionally dangerous. Many cat owners have suspected for years that their cat knows its name and simply chooses not to respond. Science has been unusually kind to this suspicion. In a 2019 study, researchers tested domestic cats by playing recordings of words that sounded similar, then the cat's own name. The cats often showed small but measurable reactions: a movement of the ears, a turn of the head, a shift of the tail. Not dramatic, more like, "Yes, I heard that." That tiny ear movement matters. It suggests that cats can discriminate their names from other human words. The cat is not just hearing random noise, it is picking out a familiar sound pattern from the stream of speech. Later research suggested that cats living with other cats can learn the names of their companions. In one kind of test, cats were shown an image of a familiar cat while hearing either the correct name or the wrong name. In some conditions, they looked longer when the voice and image did not match, which suggests that at least some cats may connect a spoken name with a particular individual. That does not turn your cat into a tiny philosopher of identity, but it does make the "cats are aloof and clueless" stereotype look too simple. The problem is not always recognition. Sometimes the problem is motivation. An animal can understand a signal without obeying it. Humans do this too. Hearing your name across a crowded room does not force you to walk over. It just tells you that someone may be addressing you. What you do next depends on context, mood, relationship, and whether you think anything useful will come of it. So far, these are mostly names given by humans. But what happens when animals develop name-like signals in their own social worlds? That is where dolphins enter the story. Bottlenose dolphins live in a world where sound travels far better than sight. Underwater, visibility can be limited, groups split and reunite, and individuals need to keep track of one another. Dolphins use distinctive sounds called signature whistles. Each dolphin develops a whistle pattern that can identify it as an individual. Other dolphins can recognize and sometimes copy these signature whistles. In playback studies, dolphins responded strongly when they heard a copy of their own signature whistle, but not in the same way to other whistles. Researchers have argued that this copying may allow dolphins to address one another, almost like calling someone by name. Almost is the key word. A dolphin whistle is not a human name written on a birth certificate. It is not part of human grammar. But functionally, it can do something name-like. It can carry individual identity and direct attention toward a specific animal. Elephants may offer another example, and in some ways, an even more surprising one. African elephants live in complex social networks. Family members separate, reunite, travel over long distances, and maintain relationships across years. Their low rumbles can travel far, and recent research has suggested that some calls contain information directed toward specific individuals. In playback experiments, elephants reacted more strongly to calls that appeared to be addressed to them. What makes the elephant case especially intriguing is that these calls may not simply be imitations of the receiver's own sound. Elephants may be using more arbitrary vocal labels, which makes the comparison to human names tempting. Scientists are careful here, as they should be. Name-like does not mean exactly like human naming, but it suggests that individual vocal labels may have evolved more than once in intelligent, social animals. Then there are parrots, birds with a talent that seems almost unfair. They can learn the sounds of human speech. This makes them both amazing and tricky to study. When a parrot says a name, is it using it or merely repeating it? The answer depends on the bird, the context, and the evidence. Parrots are social vocal learners. In the wild, some species learn contact calls that help maintain bonds with partners or groups. In homes, parrots may learn the names of people, other animals, and themselves. Reports and observational studies suggest that some companion parrots use names in socially appropriate ways, such as calling a person, greeting someone, or trying to get attention. But caution matters. A parrot saying Anna when Anna enters the room is interesting. A parrot saying Anna all day because it likes the sound is different. The strongest cases are not just about producing the sound. They are about using the right sound for the right individual in the right situation. This is the difference between mimicry and reference. Mimicry is copying a sound. Reference is when a signal points to something or someone. Many animals can learn associations. Fewer seem to use signals flexibly to identify individuals, and fewer still do it in ways that resemble names. There is also a hidden human bias in this question. We tend to ask, does the animal know its name, as if human language is the standard test. But animals may not care about names the way we do. A dog may care more about tone, body language, routine, and smell. A cat may learn the sound of its name but treat it as low-priority information. A dolphin may rely on a whistle. An elephant may respond to a rumble. A parrot may use a human word because it lives in a human social world. The important thing is not whether the signal sounds like a human name. The important thing is whether it identifies an individual. That shifts the question from, can animals understand our words, to, how do animals solve the problem of addressing someone? Because that problem is everywhere. A mother needs to find her calf. A dolphin needs to reconnect with an ally. A parrot wants the attention of one particular human. A dog needs to know that the next instruction is meant for it, not the other dog on the sofa. Social animals live in webs of relationships, and relationships require recognition. Still, there is a big difference between reacting to a name and having a human-like sense of self. We should not assume that every animal reaction carries all of that. A name can be a cue, it can be a label, it can be a learned association, it can be an address signal. These are related, but they are not identical. The next time you call an animal and it does not respond, there are several possibilities. Maybe it did not hear you. Maybe it heard you and did not care. Maybe it recognized the sound perfectly and made a very informed decision to continue sleeping. And maybe the real surprise is not that animals can learn names. Maybe the real surprise is that names are not as uniquely human as they feel. Across different minds, in water, homes, forests, and savannas, social life keeps creating the same need. To pick one individual out of the crowd and say, in whatever language that species can manage, you.
Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. See you in the next one!